Good morning, evening, afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark,
And I'm Zoe.
and we are the Board Adventurers, back to you with another Late to the Game. Today, we are going to review the 2 to 4 player game, Fallout Shelter, the board game, designed by Andrew Fisher and published by Fantasy Flight Games.
Cool. So I'm going to start off with how Fallout Shelter is played. First, you want to set up the board, which the first thing you're going to do is take the base elevator, which is going to look like this. And to the right of it, you're going to set up locations or vaults, as they're called in this game. So it's going to be the water treatment, diner, power generator. And that's all going to be to the right of the base elevator. And to the left of that is going to be the vault entrance, the vault door, as well as the wasteland. And that's going to be the basis of the start off vaults in the game. And then above the elevator, you're going to shuffle a deck of additional vaults. You're going to randomly pull out 3 and put that to the right of that vault deck. To the left of the vault deck is going to be a shuffled deck of threats. And to the left of those threats are going to be your items deck. And you're going to start off randomly pulling out 3 item cards to be to the left of the item deck. And then you're ready to start the game. So the first player, what they're going to do is they're going to take their dweller, which are what the meeples are called in this game, and they're going to choose a location for that dweller to go to. So in each of the cards, you're going to notice here, there are going to be at least one location that you could put a dweller to. Once you put a dweller on a location, you're going to pay the cost if there's a cost to go to that location. All costs are going to be signified as red. And directly above the location are the rewards, which are going to be green. Now, each location is going to have a number of different rewards in the game. From the vault door, you're going to get the first player token, and you can upgrade your dweller. Now, when you upgrade your dweller, you're going to take the dweller that is from that location, and you're going to put them on a specific player mat. You'll notice at the top of your player mat, there's locations that spell out the word special. Once you upgrade your dweller card, you're going to put it on that specific letter. Now, that dweller can be used in the next round to upgrade the action that you take. Now, you'll notice on the water treatment card that they have a letter on those. That means that these specific locations can be used as upgraded actions based off of the dweller that you've upgraded. So say, for instance, you've upgraded your dweller to the letter P on your player board. When you use that specific dweller for a location that has that same letter that you've upgraded, instead of 1 item, you double it. So on the water treatment, instead of 1 water, you'll get 2 waters instead. Once you have a dweller who is injured, and I'm going to go over how you can get injured once I go over threats. Once your dweller is injured, you could put it on this location during your turn to heal that dweller. On your turn, you can also go to your base elevator. So based off of the color that you've chosen, you're going to pull out your specific elevator, which is going to be based off of your color. It's going to look like this. You're going to put it on right underneath the base elevator. That really signifies your specific floor, because when you're building out the vault, you're building out your specific floor of the vault. So taking this as an instance, if you're the yellow player here, you have this elevator action. If you put your dweller on this location, you can purchase one of the 3 vaults that are available for purchase. You're going to choose one of the vaults, pay the cost, which is going to be at the bottom right of that vault in red. Pay the cost, and you're going to get that specific vault, and you're going to put it on your floor. Now, when you get a vault, you have to put it next to the elevator, and any subsequent vault that you purchase has to be either next to your elevator or next to a vault that's already been purchased and placed on your floor. Now, why is this beneficial? When you have a vault and another player takes an action from a vault that's on your floor, you get an additional resource. Now, also, you'll notice on your elevator that you're gonna see here as resources that you get outside of just the building resources, which is getting additional vault. You'll see two happy faces here. Those are the victory points in Fallout Shelter. So the winner of the game is the person with the most happy faces in the game. So you'll notice that there are vault cards, not any of the 6 base vault cards, but there are vault cards that give you happy faces, and you get happy faces from building out vault cards. So you want to make sure that you have the most happiness in the game, because that is the victory points in this game. So just to reiterate what your turn is, you're going to choose a dweller, put it on a location, pay the resources for that location if you need to, and get the benefits from that, and then goes on to the next player. They take their turn and go back and forth. When you've placed out all of your dwellers, you'll go to the retrieval phase when you get all of your dwellers, and then you'll go to your threat phase. What that means, you're going to take 2 dice, and you're going to roll those 2 dice, and whatever number comes out of those 2 dice, that's where you're going to draw a threat, and you're going to put that threat card on that specific number. You'll notice on the 6 vaults here, vault cards that you have here, each of them have a number next to them. That signifies where, if you roll out a specific number, where that threat card is going to go. So theoretically, if I roll a 6, that means that this card here, the threat card, goes on the 6th location. Now, what does that mean? That means when you go to that location, you no longer get the benefit of that location. In order to regain the benefits of that location, you have to defeat the threat card. Now, before I go over how you defeat the threat card, I'm going to continue on the threat phase. So once you do the vault row or vault floor for that threat, you go down to the next player's vault floor and do the same thing, in which you roll your 2 dice, and the value of those 2 dice combined signifies where that threat card goes. Now, if rolls out a 2 or 3 or a number in which there's no card present, then you just skip that floor and go to the next floor. And you're going to keep going until you roll out a threat for each floor that is available in the game. Now, you're going to start off with your next phase of just putting out dwellers, and say, for instance, you want to go to a location with a threat there. How do you get rid of that threat? Now, to get rid of a threat, you put your dweller on that location, and you have to roll your die. You'll notice that on the threat cards, there's a number right above the location there. That signifies the value of the die roll you have to make in order to defeat that threat. If you don't defeat that threat and you try to, your dweller is now injured. Your dweller turns over. He's an injured dweller now. And he goes back to your pool of dwellers and can no longer be placed at to regular locations in the next round. The only location you can go to is a location with an injury symbol, and that's where you heal your dweller, which is one of them is the base elevator that I showed in the beginning. So let's say, for instance, you defeated the threat. When you go to the retrieval phase, when you retrieve your dweller, you get the benefit of defeating that threat, which, similar to all other cards, is going to be on the top of that threat card. You remove that threat from the vault. He's defeated. He no longer is in that vault. And you remove him, and you have that space available again. And you're going to keep going like that, which getting items, defeating threats, gaining happiness, and you're going to keep going until either the threat deck is runs out, or one of the players builds out all 6 locations in their vault vault floor. That's when the end of the game triggers, and you count out the amount of happiness that you've gained throughout the game, and the person with the most happiness is the winner of that game. That is how you play Fallout Shelter. I've skipped over some base things, like some other icons in the game. Is very iconography heavy game, and some of the items as well in the game. But for the basis, that is how you play Fallout Shelter. What do you think of the game?
So just as a caveat, I have not played the video game Fallout Shelter. I've only played this kind of like card like building out game, but I find it enjoyable for the most part. This might be going further ahead into like my final score, but I definitely prefer this with lower player counts, prefer with 2. But I like the idea that each space you have gives you kind of like one of 3 main resources. And then there's some sort of almost like buff that you could do with the remaining half. It's that choice of, okay, do I want to go to a location to buff my people, put them into a special letter that will then buff the action on the next turn? Or do I just go straight to the action, thereby also preventing my opponent from getting to it? And this is where kind of like player order will start to kind of come in, because there are cards that will shift player order around. Because I think it was in this game, there's no set turn order, right? It was like whoever's first will stay first in the next round, unless you go onto this one location, and then it's clockwise, I believe, from that location. So if you do want a space in this game, it feels like you have to go somewhere where they'll give you that medal, right? Is that the medal? And that will give you first turn order, because like there were times when we played, say, 4-player, where I had wanted some energy. And early on in the game, it can get really rough with 4 because there's only 8 spots. Getting to that energy requires you to almost take that first player to then get that energy. So that's kind of like where I would kind of fall into that. It was enjoyable for the most part. It feels like a very resource conversion-y kind of game. I get idea of like slight Waterdeep vibes too, where you get to build your own locations, which is pretty cool. The threats are sometimes very frustrating because when you draw a threat on your first turn and you have a location you want to go to, and it covers that spot, you go to that threat to remove it, but you still don't get the action of that location. When on that next turn, you could roll that same number. It could block that location again, and that's where like the frustration could come in, because that did happen in some of our games. But yeah, generally, like I enjoyed it lower player count, but I liked it higher. What do you think?
I think the game is okay. I think I have played Fallout Shelter, the mobile game, and this actually really does feel like that game. Because the mobile game, you really just you're just building out like a vault, and you're building out specific floors to do things and make your like people who live there happy. That's kind of
like an actual shelter building type of thing.
Okay. You're building out. You're just building out like in here when you're building out the vaults and building out the floors. That's kind of what the game is. So it kind of feels like it and turned into a worker placement game, and it's kind of successful of that with that. So if you like the Fallout Shelter mobile game, this does feel like it. So I do recommend it if you like that. But in terms of enjoyment of the game itself, I do enjoy how iconography heavy the game is. I usually don't, but it kind of works in this game because you're not going to get, because really this is just building out floors, building out worker placement locations. And it could run into the trap where each spot feels the same. So there's multiple places you can go to. And they solve that by making it very iconography heavy, in which you could do so many things that there's not going to be cards that all do the same exact things.
Right.
So, and you're going to have that choice of like, do I go to my enemy's floor and location to give him a resource, but then I really, really need that spot and that's only available there. Can I get away with going somewhere else? And that tension of, should I help someone out or not, is there because the game puts you in a position where you kind of have to. And I do like that. But the reason why I say this game is just okay for me, it just gives me the itch to play a heavier worker placement game. And I'm not a heavy gamer at all, but it makes me want to pull out something like Waterdeep, where it's like feels more like a board game and less like a card game.
Yeah, because like the places on the cards, like you can adjust them as like you could build certain ones as you want, and then you place them on there. But then pulling them back is its own like action.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think I like that each of these like buildings or these like rooms that you can build will sometimes have a special letter onto it.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes you want to prioritize, okay, I want as many specialized workers as I can because that doubles the resource that I get from that room.
Yeah.
So if you see something gives you 3 food, but has like an E at the bottom, it's like, oh, I want to get that E so I can get 6 food.
Yeah.
But like these little spaces here, these have a maximum. You can't exceed what these are.
Yeah.
So once you've hit this, like 6 will get you almost to the very end here. So you have to kind of almost plan for getting the 6, but first clearing up all your food first.
Yeah, it's well thought out and balanced in that way.
Yeah.
Just the specific, like, there's a max amount of food that you could run into a section like what you said, where it's just like you get 4 or 5 resources and then you can't fit it, and then you really just wasted a turn. So I like that.
Yeah, one thing I do enjoy, again, this is more for lower player count, is the threats. The threats in higher one can get a little frustrating because now there's 4 threats per level.
Yeah.
Because you'll have actually the first level plus 4 for a 4 player.
Yeah.
But when you only have 2, you only have about 3.
Yeah.
I believe those threats are negative points at the end of the game, right?
They are, if you're still in your vault,
you want to clear them off of your floor. But some threats are really enticing because they'll give you happiness, which are victory points in this game. That's where the items come in too, because sometimes an item will really help you to beat a threat.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll let you add, die roll. It might remove, one of the requirements for, the beating the thing. That's where like I think items and threats kind of coincide together.
Yeah.
That's a good strategy to go with if you're trying to win the game. But building the rooms also, like getting to that 6th room, closing it out, is also like a very viable strategy as well.
Yeah, and what I like about it too is that you want to, it's because you can just speed through the game and just build out six spots. But that's not advantageous because you want synergy between the vaults that you put on your floor. You just don't want random places on your floor. You want stuff that's going to help you, but not help your opponent. But also kind of entice your opponent as well because you want them to give you resources.
Right, because if they place it on yours, you get resources. Like a wild, right? Or
you get a resource, I do like that aspect as well because... Yeah. And the fact that there's so many unique vaults, when someone chooses, builds out a vault, it's not like, you know what? A similar vault is going to come out and I'll wait for that. That doesn't really... exist the same way. So now you really have to shift kind of like your strategy if you're building towards a specific vault. I like that. Yeah. I like that too. Nice. Cool. In terms of buy, play, skip, where did this land for you?
I think my answer is going to be almost 2-part. So if this was a 3 or 4 player game, this would be a play leading a pass. But as a 2-player game, this is a play leading a buy. So I come right down in the middle on a play. Nice. I think the best place to play this is 2-player. I think in a 3 to 4 player game, early in the game, the board is too packed, and later in the game, it's too open. There's so many rooms in a 3 to 4 player game that you kind of build AP almost in this. Whereas if it's just 2 players, you have half the rooms that are still available on your turn. Yeah. I think this is great, like, because there's enough choices that make you want to think about it, but not such a broad amount that makes you like have to overthink every single spot and kind of eat up time. Like in a 4-player game, this could go maybe an hour and a half. Yeah. The way it would turnover would go. In a 2-player game, we could finish this in about 45. Yeah. So this is a play straight down, but if I were to say play it with 2. I think this should really be more of just a 2-player game. Yeah, I also have caveats to my play by skip here. I know this is a game that's out of print. I believe Fantasy Flight lost the rights to Fallout. So this is a game that's kind of hard to find and it's a little bit more on the expensive side. If this is available for you, this is a play.
if you like worker placement games and you want a smaller worker placement game that works, because that's kind of what this is, a smaller worker placement game that kind of works and is well balanced, but it's not a must buy. You need to have this in your collection if you're not looking for that, and if you're not a huge Fallout Shelter fan. So if this is readily available for you and you want a small worker placement game, play. If you're thinking of, I want to go on eBay and buy this for however much it's available for, this is a skip. I don't think this is one that you really should go out of your way to pay large amounts of money for. But if you can get it relatively, cheap side or just a regular price, because I've seen some crazy prices for this on eBay, then this is a play. But yeah, that's where I am with Fallout Shelter. Any more thoughts on it?
No, I think that's it.
Cool.
Cool. That is our review of Fallout Shelter, the board game. Let us know if you guys played it. What do you guys think down in any comments below. We are the Board Adventurers. I'm Mark.
I'm Zoe.
We will see you on the next adventure.